Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Public Works Committee will come to order. We have a relatively abbreviated agenda today. We have two general agenda items, update on the 7th Street drainage system improvements and an update on the city bond projects. So, as usual, first we'll take the consent agenda. Are there any consent items that any member wants to remove from the consent agenda for discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if there's nothing that needs to be removed, I move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Mr. Clark, do you have anything?
I don't think so. Can you give me 1 second?
Sure.
Yeah, can I pull C6? That's just the information on
The transit.
Transit.
Yeah.
otherwise we'll go with the motion.
All right, we'll pull C6 for discussion. The rest of the consent agenda remains within the motion for approval. If there is no discussion, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimously approved. Item C6, please.
Item C6, update on Winston-Salem Transit Authority services.
All right, Mr. Clark, did you have a particular question?
Yes,
you wanted to
Mr.
raise?
Turner, on page 43, the first page of this, we went over the categories of those qualifications for transit, and one of them said over 60. Individuals over 60 of age automatically qualify per who? Is that a federal
program.
Federal, okay. That struck me, and I will say for the record, there are two people here over 60. Dan and I are a month apart.
He's older.
Yes, I am a month older. But it just seemed like me that was, if that said 65 or something, I could understand more. But I think someone who's 60 years old, most 99% of us can walk to the bus. But if it's federal, it's federal. That's it. That's the only question I have.
Just one brief follow-up. My understanding is we are allowed to differentiate internally between categories of eligibility in terms of the fee. Is that?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. I think we already do that, so I just wanted to. So we could, if we were working to either maintain or substantially expand services, say that, well, we want to make sure that our capacity is particularly applied to those who are most in need, and therefore, for example, we could say, if age is your only eligibility category, you don't have a disability or a Medicaid recipient, et cetera, then we would charge at the same rate as the fixed system or something. But
That's my understanding, and we'll confirm that.
All right, so this was an update, just a report item. We were not at the point of having an action item before us.
That is correct.
All right. Then let's go back to the general agenda and start with the first item, please. Oh, I'm sorry.
Something really quick, and it was on the other item, not the one that we pulled, but just as a note from just public space here, that on the piece for 7, in reference to information, things that happen around new routes and things, it'd be I don't know if we can do it, I didn't see it on there listed as one of the ways of advertising about that, but that we were putting something in water bills. Is that going to happen? Is that one of the methods?
I believe so, but we'll
okay. But it wasn't on the list.
Yeah, we'll get that confirmed. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. So now let's go to the first item on the general agenda, please.
Item G1, update on 7th Street drainage system improvements, potential cost allocation scenarios.
Thank you. I believe Mr. Huff.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, at the September Public Works Committee meeting, information was presented on a localized flooding issue in the area of 7th Street and Vine Street, where property owned by the Wake Forest Innovation Corridor has been flooded in recent storm events, precipitating them to request the city partner in a solution. Based on their request, a concept solution was developed, which included replacement of peripheral lines in the 7th Street area, in addition to a bypass system that would go basically from 5th Street to Research Parkway. That project conceptually would cost $7 million to design, permit, and build. At the time, the committee had several questions regarding moving forward. First was potential cost share scenarios. In your packet, you have three potential scenarios for consideration: a 67% city, a 50% city, and a 30% city. A note, the 67% city was the original allocation from the previous project, the Central District Pond and Infrastructure Project that took place 3-4 years ago. Additional questions were, could the funds support this type of project? To that, the cash balance, the fund balance in the stormwater fund was determined at the end of the last fiscal year. It was $21.9 million. A note, the current reserve policy for the stormwater fund recommends a cash reserve equal to 2 times the estimated annual budgeted expenditures, which is $19.9 million, which leaves you an obvious buffer of $2 million. A little bit more in-depth analysis was done to give some clarity on the project. You have in your packet a financial model for these various scenarios, as well as the current outlook that excludes the 7th Street project. And you can see the curves here based on the 67% allocation, the 50% allocation, and the 30% allocation. And I guess with these allocations, there were several assumptions made. For all scenarios, we assumed that a 4% rate increase would occur in fiscal year 2018 and carry through every other year until 2029. So we're going to need to put in some rate increases, and this projection assumes 4% every other year, starting with 18 and going through 2029.
And this is at 4% in the stormwater fee rate?
Correct, in the stormwater fee rates,
Every other year.
every other
So
year.
2% a year.
Correct,
Averaged out.
linear, yeah. Yes,
For all customers, residential, commercial, everything.
absolutely, absolutely. It also assumes that the design and construction costs for this project would occur in fiscal year 18 and 19, and the total project cost would be $7 million. So that's what these projections basically assume. So while the fund's current status has sufficient income in the fund, projected reserves don't meet the subscribed financial policies in the future, the 2 times annual budget expenditures. So basically with that said, staff plugged in the 4%, and that's what the scenario is based on. So long term, the rate increases would be needed to stabilize the fund, even if we did not do the 7th Street project. So just a little bit of an analysis for the thought process.
And that's based on our current expenditure rates?
Correct. And current capital, approved capital projects in that total for the existing outlook, current outlook, that is.
Mr. Montgomery?
Just so be clear, if in fact we were intending to use funds for this, just to make sure that there would not, by doing this, doesn't necessitate the rate increase, but regardless of this action, there would be a need for that.
Correct. Even without the project, there would be a need for the rate increase.
Okay.
But the project, it sounds like what you're saying is that if we take the cost of this project from the stormwater fund, that will automatically kick it down below the recommended reserve rate.
Correct. Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, I think if you did the project, you'd have to be looking at a revenue bond in order to cover the cost of it. Basically, that amount of outflow from the fund would need to be from a bond that would be paid back by rates in the future.
Could you do it in that fashion without dropping the reserve below the?
Yes. With the appropriate rate increase, yes, you could.
With what you have assumed is your base case, the 2% a year?
No, I don't think that'll do it. I think it'll still have to be slightly higher than that. We'll
So-
work with finance to give you an actual number.
Basically, it sounds like what you're saying, this project is so expensive, if we take it from the stormwater fund, we're going to be increasing the rates on everybody who owns property in the city as a result.
Yeah, I think that's the correct statement.
Okay, thank Mr.
Now,
Clark?
the 2 times is our policy.
So, yeah, yes.
Yeah, so we change policy to 1.5, or whatever.
Yes, good.
I mean, we have all sorts of fund balances, and I don't know if any of them have, maybe they do. Do we have an internal requirement what fund balance needs to be in the employee benefit? Do we?
We passed a couple of years ago, brought that to, there's one for every fund now, I
Oh, there
believe.
is, okay. I mean, right now, we're 2 million over the amount. 21.9 for minus 19. My concern is the centerpiece of our economic development has flooded roads when it rains. Major flooded roads, and I think that needs to be addressed. And I don't quite understand the revenue bonds. See, like me, you'd have some fixed costs, because this, and I'm not suggesting 100%, but even 50%. It's only $1.5 million over our self-imposed limit. But at the same time, revenue bonds allow you to spread the costs over many years, and those are the years that people enjoy the roads.
Mr. McIntosh?
How do we compare with other cities in terms of our stormwater rates?
As far as our rates in general, we fall in line, typically speaking, with other cities within our capital, within our population. We're equitable.
And they tend to be something that that developers look at before taking on projects. That has an impact. So I think we need to be careful about how we can't just increase that willy-nilly without having negative feedback from the development community, I think.
My thinking on this is, I hear what you're saying, Mr. Clark. If we're going to approve this project on the basis of its economic impact, then we probably need to take it from the right source, as opposed to the stormwater fund. Yeah, or not take more from the stormwater fund than, like, for example, we could do the 30% city, 70% innovation quarter match, about out of what we have without dropping the.
You can't. You got 2 million right there.
Yeah. But we couldn't do the 50-50 without dropping the fund reserve below what our existing, which of course we could change, but our existing internal fund balance policy says we want to treat it as the minimum.
But you could do a $2 million out of the stormwater fund and $1.5 million. If you're going to do 50-50, you do $2 million out of stormwater and $1.5 million from
Somewhere.
revenue bonds.
Maybe
or something.
economic development bonds, we
Yeah.
have the money there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, was there anything else, or is that basically the major element we need to address?
That's the major elements we need to discuss.
Okay. Discussion, please. Montgomery?
Well, I think Councilman Clark hit the nail on the head in the sense that what we have here is a large issue in a part of the community that we have invested and have had our investment leveraged tenfold to produce a grave amount of economic vitality, and I think it is necessary for us to examine the multiple options that keeps us within the financial place that we want to be as a city. And so I would ask that staff look at what that possible mix of funding could be, whether we're taking a portion. My thought would be a portion from the stormwater fund and potentially looking at economic development bonds in terms of making sure that there aren't any projects that we may not know about yet that are coming that may be looking to use any of those dollars yet. And if that's not the case, then how we can do a mix and match of that to be able to see what works to cover the cost of this. Not to do so, I think, would have larger economic impacts in the future.
Are we thinking in terms of asking staff to bring us back a proposal that would have the basic match at 50-50, and then limit our what we take from the stormwater fund to what it will bear without adding an additional percent, built-in rate increase, and then looking at where else we get the funding. Mr. McIntosh.
If we bring that down to the cap, then we're not able to spend any more money. Am I right? So the Spring Park project, for instance, which is $750,000, we could not spend that money we could not go
There are
below.
projects already anticipated
In the
our
pro forma.
budget, in our pro forma, yes.
Okay, so we're penciling out what we expect to
Right.
occur
That is
based on
correct.
historical.
Right.
So if it's already in our plan, then it's
Okay.
already
All right.
covered.
Mr. Gary?
Another option to look at is the potential of, and we've talked about this before, if you use $2 million out of stormwater, take some money with the county's permission or agreement out of the out-of-county, city-county water economic development fund.
That would be,
There is a request on finance to use some of that for a development they have out in the county, but even after
you
that
go.
comes out, there's still enough, I think.
It's only 35% or something.
Right. So that might be another way.
and this is certainly a major economic driver for the county.
The
right?
county's been very
Development.
supportive of this effort
Yeah.
too.
I like
Wouldn't anticipate.
Yeah, I like that too.
That's kind of a good mix.
Yeah.
Mr.
I'm
Butler?
just going to point out, the fact that 19.9, or I'll round it to 20 million, is 2 times our annual, says that we are budgeting 10 million a year,
Yeah.
which is a fair amount. And I do know there are a lot of projects involved.
Yeah.
I would suggest we direct staff to come up with a proposal with a 50/50 and a funding source.
All
And
right.
I like that, it's a good idea. And we can
Yeah.
put that with the county thing, and
Any objection?
Get a deal done.
Any concern you'd like to raise for the discussion at this point, Mr. Tuck? Okay,
Not at this time.
not at this time.
I mean, I do have some concerns,
Okay.
but
You want to mull them over and bring them back later? Is that,
I want to speak in one generality.
okay.
I think this deal, this particular proposal makes sense because we have invested a lot of resources in the downtown, particularly in the Wake Forest Innovation Quarter area. I'm not certain that the Wake Forest Innovation Quarter people don't have the resources to just full out pay for the project. I'm just thinking in terms of areas in my community that could use these resources, particularly for economic development projects out of whatever fund, and they've been sorely and historically overlooked. But then again, we're coming downtown and putting more resources after we've already put more resources, and the people who we're supporting can possibly already pay for it. And that fundamentally bothers me. It does. But not to take away the merit and the importance of this project, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't move forward with it, but it just bothers me when we come to other projects that we tend to have difficulty in support. So henceforth, while I sit back and I have this puzzled, concerned look on my face, I think there are plenty of other communities that could use this money, particularly Southeast Ward.
Concern noted. Thank you. Anything else on that item? This point? Okay. And naturally, if we conclude that the innovation quarter can handily pay for the work itself, we'd be happy to take that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Do we know, Mr. Turner, that they cannot pay for it?
We only know that they have indicated that they would need city support in order to make the project work.
A good question to ask.
Always hard. Please, sir. All right, thank you. Let's go to G2 then, please.
Item G2, City Bond Project Update.
All right, we have information, and would you prefer to have an overview presentation or address questions to Mr. Rowe?
overview presentation would be nice.
Very good. Please move forward, sir.
Okay. Good evening, Chairman Bessie, members of the City Council.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Presswood, our city engineer, I'm going to kind of tag team the presentation tonight. I'm going to kind of give you some an overview of where we are with the bond projects, and then turn it over to him to give you some more detailed updates on individual projects. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about progress at a glance, and then, like I said, Mr. Presswood will give you some individual updates. We're going to focus on the public safety, Parks and Recreation, Streets and Sidewalks, Union Station, and Benton Convention Center projects. In my progress at a glance, we'll talk a little bit about economic development and housing, but there'll be another opportunity to really give you more specific update on those two areas. So first of all, just to show you expenditures by project category, and let me explain a little bit about what the numbers are. First of all, we have the amount column there is the amended budget for the projects. As you recall, The 2014 bond referendum approved $139.2 million in general obligation bonds. The mayor and council also approved $37.5 million in additional limited obligation bonds. And then there has been some additional financing that was available after our first issuance of the general obligation bonds. We actually had about $5 million that we have in additional capacity. Some of that money has been programmed into some certain projects. So the number you see there, the grand total of $182.25 million reflects those amended amounts. So it doesn't match up with the kind of the original authorizations. The commitment column includes basically what has actually been spent on the projects and then commitments in the form of encumbrances. If a construction contract purchase order has been issued, those funds are actually encumbered in our finance system, and that's what's reflected here. So I will note that if you look at the economic development and housing bond orders, those numbers are very low. The mayor and the council have approved projects that have committed much more of those two particular bond orders. In fact, I think in the case of the housing bond orders, of the $6 million that was designated for housing development, there's only about $1.6 million that's left undesignated at this point. So this commitment column is a reflection really more of what's in our finance system as opposed to all the decisions and approvals that the mayor and council have made. I just wanted to kind of make that qualification going forward. But we're going to really look more in detail about those projects below housing. So I mentioned the funding sources there, the $139.2 million in GO bonds, the $37.8 million in limited obligation bonds, and then the $5.25 million in other funding sources, that additional capacity that we've realized, and also some additional funding that we've designated for the convention center. Then also, just kind of here again, high-level overview, want to talk where we are with our NWB participation. So in terms of total contracts, both design contracts and construction contracts that have been awarded, those total about $82 million. Of that amount, $22.8 million has been committed to minority and women business enterprises. So that equates to a 27.8% participation rate.
Yes, Mr. McGovern.
Yeah, in that and in the future, when y'all were presenting those MWBE numbers, it'd be well to see that broken down, women-owned businesses, minority businesses, and what that looks like in a breakdown of those.
Yes, sir. We can certainly provide that information. So really, that's my part of the presentation. I will share with you that at your places, we've given you a copy of the presentation as well as some details about the actual street resurfacing segments that have been authorized, the sidewalk projects that are planned, and also a map that shows that plots all of the authorized projects to date, every single project, every street segment, every sidewalk segment. So it's well over 200 individual projects that you all have authorized that we've tried to reflect on that map. So I thought that would be a good way to kind of see how the projects are distributed throughout the city.
Thank you.
So with that, we'll turn it over to Mr. Presswood.
Mr. Presswood.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, council members.
Good evening.
We'll start with the public safety facilities. These include the Public Safety Center, which is under design, so we don't have an update for that, but also includes the Beatty Public Safety Training Support Center, the 3 district stations, and the 3 fire stations. First slide is of the Beatty Public Safety Training and Support Center renovations. It's under construction. The contract completion date is March of next year, but the contractor is actually trying to finish up next week, and we have furniture scheduled for delivery after Thanksgiving, so we hope to be in that building by the first of the year. The Police District 3 facility, which is over off of Stratford Road, the old Hillcrest area, it's under construction. The projected completion date on that is April of 2017. And as you can see from the photos, they're making very good progress out there. The Police District 1 facility, which is on North Point Boulevard, we had to hold up for a little bit for a redesign because of some stormwater problems, but we've gotten that resolved and it is under construction. This is almost an identical design to the District 3 station, and it's the same contractor, so we expect construction to move very fast now that they have gotten started. The revised completion date on that project is July of 2017. The District 2 facility on Waughtown Street is very near completion. There's a little bit of site work that needs to be done, but as you can see from the photos, the interior is done, the furniture has been delivered, so we hope, the contractor is hoping to wrap that one up in the next couple weeks. Fire Station 8 on Renolda Road, it's under construction. Projected completion date on that is June of 2017. As you can see from the photos, the exterior is very near completion, but they still have a lot of work to do on the interior. A couple that are just getting started are Fire Station 7 on Arbor Road and Fire Station 9 on Ogburn. Groundbreaking on 7 was today, and then 9 is next week. They've already started work on 7 and plan on starting work on 9 next week. And those are scheduled for completion in 2018. Public Safety Center is about to wrap up design. We have to wait until the 3 district stations are complete and we can move personnel to those stations before we can begin that project, but we anticipate bringing the contract to council in May of 2017 for that. Move on to Parks and Recreation. As you can see, I won't read that to you, but it's a fairly long list of projects that we're going to go over, 2 pages of them. But we'll start with the Quarry Park development, Phase 1. It's under development. It also includes the Walltown Connector Greenway. They're making very good progress out there. The actual contract completion date is September of 2017, but they anticipate being done well before then.
Did they drain part of that?
No.
So the overhang is not over water?
No, it is over water.
It's right at the edge of the water, at the edge of the overhang.
Okay.
Winston Lake Aquatic Center, it's under construction. They are complete with the grading work out there, but the building work has not begun, so we didn't have a photo to show you on that. The and project completion date on that is November 2017, but the contractor's trying to get done before then. Salem Lake Marina is under construction. Completion date on that is March of 2018. They have completed the foundation and begun the steel work on the actual marina building. They've done quite a bit of site work in the parking lot, and then the first of the year they will then be moving over to the Linville Road site and will begin the bathroom facility over there. Jameson Park is under construction. The contract completion date is February. That one should be wrapping up in the next month or so. They've got just a little bit more work to complete out there. And then we have the water spray grounds. The majority of these will be complete by spring of summer of next year. Little Creek and Hathaway are basically complete. Reynolds Park is under construction. We've got a couple photos, which you can see Reynolds Park at the top one, and then Hathaway and Little Creek, as you can see, are all but complete.
They'll be ready for use as soon as the weather warms up next
Yes. Miller Park renovations, the stream bank restoration, that is under construction. The projected completion date on that is October of next year, and they actually started construction just a couple weeks ago on that. And then we will be bringing the contract for the path restoration at a later time. Hopefully plan on bringing that to you in April.
They've got a shorter window than to October for that construction.
The reason for that date is they have to come back multiple times for the invasive species treatment. The actual stream bank restoration will not take that long.
That was a very carefully planned item to avoid impact on the migrating species. Thank you.
Sedge Garden Recreation Center Gymnasium is under construction. Again, the contract completion date is March of next year, but they expect to have that building completed in the next month also. Parkland acquisition is ongoing. The gathering place at Fairview Park is under construction with a projected completion of December of this year. And then the Bowen Park restroom is under construction with a projected completion date of this month of this year. To update you on some other projects, Happy Hill Park is under design right now. We anticipate bidding it and bringing it to council in January of next year. Winston Lake Golf Course, we have bid the restroom already. Construction has not yet started on that, and we are currently working on the design of the golf cart path restoration and the bunker restoration. Haynes Park, I believe that's a typo on that one. The next step on that one is we'll be bringing the master plan to council in January. It is going to HRC in November. North Ward Park, the designer is working on a master plan design now, and we will get community input as the next step on that. And then Kimberly Park improvements, we anticipate bringing that to council in February for approval of the construction on that. Parkland Pool and Tennis Courts, again, anticipate bringing something to council in January. Brown and Douglas Recreation Center is still to be determined on the schedule of that. Bloom Park improvements, anticipate being complete with that in March of 2017. The lighting and tennis courts at Carver High School is complete, and the Hobby Park improvements we plan on having complete in February 2017. We'll move on to streets and sidewalks now, which includes resurfacing sidewalks, Meadowlark Drive, concrete base, street rehab, Business 40, bicycle and ped projects, Polo Road, and Old Salem. The street resurfacing, we've already completed 2 contracts for that and have 2 others that are wrapping up now and should be done by the end of the year. The sidewalk construction and repairs is an ongoing project. You can see from the numbers of what we've committed so far and what the project budget is. Concrete-based street rehab is under construction with a completion date on that of May of next year.
I do have a question on that later, though.
The bicycle and pedestrian projects are like the sidewalks. They are ongoing, and we have quite a few under design. Polo Road corridor improvements is under construction. Completion date on that is February, but again, that one should be wrapping up within the next month. Old Salem infrastructure is in the design phase right now, but the projected schedule on that would be to have the construction completed by the end of 2017. Meadowlark Drive is still under design. The current schedule has us awarding or bringing a contract for council award in June of next year.
What's taking so long on that?
There's been multiple complications. One of it is the school system approached us because of what they have asked in the bonds, and we've had to redesign to accommodate what they're planning on doing out there.
Which is the right thing. It's good with coordinating.
Yep. And then there have been multiple site plans coming in for development. Right there where Beecham ties in, and we've had to make some adjustments to account for that also. And then the Business 40 corridor is the next step on that is community input. We'll move on to Union Station, which actually this says it's in design, but council approved the contract on Monday night. So we anticipate construction starting within about 30 days. The projected completion date on that is summer of 2018. And then the Benton Convention Center renovations is under construction. The final completion date on that is May of 2017, but the contractor has finished phase 1, and they are now using the bottom floor for their events and has started the demo on the main floor, which that photo you see there is an actual photo of the main floor demolition. But then those photos are of the renovated bottom floor of the convention center that's now being used. believe that's the end of the presentation.
Can I ask my question on Pine Valley and Windsor, Roundabout and all that? I met with some folks this afternoon that want to see some nice landscaping in the green traffic circle when it's finished. So, and I think it's going to be a while. We met with the construction manager, and he said they're going to use that as their staging area for quite a while.
That's correct.
So,
We'll be happy to work with them, get them my information, and I'll be happy to talk to them.
okay, I will pass your name on to them. Basically, they want a nice tree, a nice bench, and some grass.
Mr. State?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I said a sort of mean comment earlier, but I want to pause for the cause and actually thank all the city staff, the city manager's office, and particularly the city manager for your work on these bonds. I know when we decided to put them on the agenda to be voted on by the citizens, Mr. Garrity, you gave us your word that you would keep a close watch on the bonds, that would be monitored, and that we would move in a timely fashion. And it would be something that we really can appreciate as a community. And I think you've kept your word. The city staff has kept their word and done a wonderful job. The people that I go all around the city and talk to are extremely happy about these projects. We're seeing the fruit of our labors and our tax dollars at work. I think that's the purpose of government. So job well done to all the ladies and gentlemen who helped to make this happen. We appreciate you.
Thank you. And indeed, we've had at least 9 people nagging you on a regular basis, Mr. Garrity. So we see the results. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, on that. Mr. McIntosh.
The dry weather has certainly helped us, hasn't it, as far as timing, and it hasn't helped everybody, but it has helped us. Just a question about one of the sidewalk projects in my ward on Petrie, and I know it relies on federal funding. Is it SPTDA, right? Funding. When will we know when we get that money? What's the timetable on that likely?
They're very difficult to predict. What we can do is make sure that when we send out the weekly updates about the status of transportation projects, that we keep you in the loop on what we're seeing coming through. But we get we make estimates on how long we think it should take to get various things delivered back from the review process, but there are no guarantees on those things. They will say, for instance, 1 to 2 months is their typical response time or reaction time, but they're not guaranteeing that.
Over under 6 months.
Over.
Okay. I don't want to go any further. I don't want to go any further.
Welcome to the world of Greenway construction.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Clark. Much better if you're using all your own money.
Oh, yeah.
An issue, or someone raised the question to me, is would there be room at Hathaway Park for a dog park? Dog park, where dogs play. Could be a fenced-in field, I think.
We can look.
Can someone?
Sure.
I know we got them at it,
We'll take a look.
Jameson.
We got one just about to open in spring in Jameson, but we can take a look.
Just look. I mean, I don't think we're talking about a lot of money, but I don't think there's that much room.
It's not. Wanted chairman and members of the committee. We are moving quickly now, spending a lot of money. Lisa Saunders may lose her bet with me about how quickly we spend the bond money. But we are going to come back and talk to council, this committee, and all council about a potential 2018 bond referendum. So we'll be starting those conversations with all of you individually and collectively early in 2017,
If
not before.
As individuals.
To see where we want to go. It was good news how easily the county bonds passed. So I think there's a lot of demand, particularly in our transportation and recreation areas.
Thank you. And Mr. Turner, I would also be interested in a look at where we stand with the Griffith Road sidewalk project.
Certainly.
I get comments about that, requests for status updates every time I say anything about sidewalks in my ward, and I know that's one that we are depending on seeking matching funds for.
Certainly.
Thank you. Other questions about the bond project update?
No bond project.
Okay. Members of the committee and other council members, is there anything else we need to bring up today? Yes, Mr. Sutton.
Mr. Turner, if you don't mind helping me out, I just want to say to all the citizens who might be watching that the Reynolds Park Road will be closing on Monday, November the 14th to repair some aging bridges. So there are 2 bridges on Reynolds Park Road that will be closing. I've received phone calls from parents and from concerned staff at the Boys and Girls Club, sort of about the process of the closure. Just to answer that question, help me if I'm wrong, but we will be closing 1 bridge at a time. We'll first close the bridge over Salem Creek that will allow those who are utilizing the services of the Boys and Girls Club and the Norfolk Southern facility to be able to access those. Then we will come back and close the 2nd bridge. At that time when that happens, we have negotiated with the neighborhood and the State Department of Transportation to allow a left-hand turn off of MLK onto Argonne Street and then back to Peachtree Street to be able to access Reynolds Park Road going towards Kernersville. I said a mouthful, Mr. Turner. If I've said anything correctly, please.
That's correct.
I should have anticipated this, but did not, that there would be yet another detour on the Salem Creek Greenway during the construction on the Salem Creek Bridge, and that was starting so soon. What is the detour route, please?
The official detour route is Martin Luther King Jr. Drive to Walltown Street to Reynolds Park Road.
Right. Yeah. King to Walltown Street to, that's not going to.
Robert?
Were you asking the Greenway detour?
Yeah, the Greenway detour.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the traffic detour, the vehicular detour.
The Greenway, where it splits before it reaches the bridge, you will actually take that split up to Peachtree. As part of the bridge project, they're building a sidewalk there that will take you up to Reynolds Park, and they're going to put a crossing across Reynolds Park Road, and then there'll be a route back down to the Greenway from there.
So you'll be able to, at that point, you'll be able to get off Reynolds Park Road and go back down to the Greenway?
That's correct.
Okay, great, because what I was afraid might be the case would be you're expecting people to go up to Reynolds Park itself and go down that screaming incline on their bikes or up it, and the cyclists, they won't take that. Right.
I will double check on that one and let you know.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Anything else from members? All right. Anything else from staff, Mr. Fern?
No.
All right. In that case, thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen, and we are adjourned.
Thank you.